Disney finally seems to be diversifying a little bit. Earlier we got Elena of Avalor, the first Latina princess, and now we have Moana, representing Polynesian cultures. And even better, they're using actors of Latin and Polynesian descent. Of course, this comes off the heels of their Caucasian juggernaut Frozen. I mean, you don't get much whiter than a platinum blonde ice princess in a faux Scandinavian winter. But the sad truth is, you're always going to have somebody who's going to complain about the cultural representation of any Disney character. You just can't win. So I'm officially challenging Disney to make the very first Canadian princess. Because first of all, we're a melting pot. You can choose any culture you want. And second of all, we're Canadian, so we're not going to complain about anything. And if you non-Canadians out there watching right now are thinking, Canada can't possibly have enough Disney magic, let me reintroduce you to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Yeah, we literally have a Disney prince as leader of our land. Big year for Cousin Dwayne, sexiest man alive, huge success at the box office, and he got to work with Alexandra Daddario in a bathing suit. While we're on the subject, I love the character design of his Disney demigod Maui, a fun-sized tattooed warrior who looks like he could swim the surf of the Pacific Ocean, while Dwayne in Baywatch looks like he'd probably sink like a... Don't say it. This is no surprise that a Disney film is well designed, but Moana goes above and beyond. The character design on a whole was brilliant, the landscapes are breathtaking, and all the mystical creatures are very dark but beautiful to watch. More importantly, I felt that the Polynesian culture was truly represented. Now, of course, this is coming from a 30-something white dude in Canada, but I think that Disney, and Moana especially, really made strides to represent this culture appropriately. And I feel that the casting is really where it started off, casting actors of appropriate heritage. Let me be clear. For the first time, I felt that. The filmmakers apparently did a lot of research about South Pacific cultures and then amalgamated those cultures to create their own mythology. And because of that, Moana truly feels historical, tangible, and yet the artwork is stunning. It makes you feel warm inside, like you're actually there. And for that feeling, you better believe the design of Moana is for the win. But that's no surprise. I mean, Disney magic is pretty much a given. All hail the mouse. All hail the mouse. You know what though, there are some other givens when it comes to Disney. Given number one, an overprotective father. Yes, Moana's chief Tui, her father, tells her not to venture out in the outside world because of the fears and dangers that may be there. Seems a little familiar, doesn't it? Like King Trident from The Little Mermaid, or maybe even Marlin from Finding Nemo. Kind of ironic that Trident said don't go out of the water and Tui said don't go into it. But the real ironic thing is, both movies were pretty much written by the same people. Yeah, maybe I'm being a little too sarcastic, but there is a little South Pacific sunshine in my dark Canadian cloud, because the fact of the matter is, most of these givens are what childhood memories are made out of. Because if it weren't for these givens, Disney classics wouldn't exactly be the classics that they're known to be. One of those great givens is the catchiest of catchy songs, because Disney animated feature films have featured the music of some of the biggest names in the industry. Men and women who have gone on to not only create great music, but some of the most iconic musical theater shows of the modern age. And as if Disney doesn't control enough, apparently they can also control time, because they must have been able to see the future. Years ago, they signed a relatively unknown musical theater artist named Lin-Manuel Miranda. Now here we are in 2016 with Moana succeeding quite well, and Miranda's show Hamilton pretty much breaking box office records in the theater. And the catchy factor is in full force with songs like You're Welcome. What can I say except you're welcome? And I'd like to personally thank him for How Far I'll Go, which will undoubtedly be the next Let It Go. So get ready to hear nothing but that song for the next 3 years. You're welcome! But our latest Disney princess is brought to life beautifully by now 16-year-old Auli'i Cravalho. And much like her predecessors, this character feels like there's something more out there that she just has to explore. And I know what you're thinking, she's the next chief, not a princess, but to steal a line from Maui, if you've got an animal sidekick, you're a princess. And Moana's got 2, a pig and a rooster. 3 if you include the alien from the abyss. Now this is where things get a little heavy, possibly, because I mentioned Moana's predecessors, the characters that came before her, and the fact of the matter is, I've talked about how this new Disney trend of making strong female characters isn't as progressive as people think. Oh God, he's getting political again. You know what, I'm out of here. Frozen especially is not this great paradigm of equality that everyone seems to think it is. I'm actually glad I never reviewed this movie because I really didn't like it. And part of the reason I didn't like it was, yeah, it succeeded in creating some strong female leads, but only at the expense of the male characters. With that argument, I recognize there is a counterpoint, that this is only a small sample of what Disney damsels have had to go through for decades of storytelling. But let me just stop you there, because the whole point of this is, in the pantheon of Disney storytelling, Moana is the first film that I truly feel represents equality. Moana has a myriad of strong female characters. It even has goddesses. Moana herself is a strong leader and future chief, but the best part of the story is she doesn't have to show her strength by knocking anyone else down. It's never showing her strength by comparison. With this new trend, yes, the women were strong, but the men were typically weak, stupid, or conniving. But here we are in 2016, where we've already had the wonderfully socially responsible Zootopia, who teaches children through subtext about racial equality. And here we are with Moana, several months later, with another great cinematic duo which teaches us about gender equality. Maui may start off the film brash, cocky, and rude, but unlike many of the male characters in modern Disney films, he has a great arc. He learns from his mistakes, and by the end of the film, he and Moana are true partners in this adventure. They're both strong, smart, and brave, and more importantly, they're both great role models and leaders. From the time I was a young lad to the time now where I'm an old fart teaching young lads about animation, the fact is, to me, Disney has always been beautiful. They've always been heartwarming. They've always been memorable. In short, they've always been iconic. But with a creative team that now teaches important life lessons to young people, they may truly be unstoppable. Moana is arguably the greatest Disney film of this modern era, and that is truly saying something. So let me say one more thing, and that is, earn it. Poll question, what is your favorite fictional partnership? As always, leave your answers in the comments section below. Be sure to subscribe to Real School, follow me on Twitter, and of course, if you get anything out of Real School, you can always give a little back. Just click the link, and you can become part of my Patreon team. But until next time, school's out.